This is America Weekend. I'm Mike Bennett. A regular visitor here is Greg Quinn, farmer and naturalist, who's responsible for bringing currants back to the American market.
Hi, I'm Greg Quinn with this week's Notes from the Currant Farm. May is when apple blossoms are in full splendor, red rhubarb and green asparagus are the stars of the garden, young nestlings are hungrily chirping for the next morsel mom brings home, and one can hear the vibrating hum of 30,000 buzzing bees in a giant ball hanging from a low tree branch. Honeybees that are kept in an apiary, as we have here on the Currant Farm, and wild honeybees that typically live in hollow trees swarm this time of year. 30,000 buzzing bees can seem like something out of a Stephen King novel and frighten all who come across the specter. The loud, buzzing sound and sight of the huge numbers of bees makes them appear angry. But in fact, they are usually quite docile and not, for the most part, in a stinging mood. Bees sting to protect themselves or their hive. Since the swarm is in effect homeless, they're not feeling very protective. The queen honeybee has been laying eggs since early April, and the population of most hives is quite large this time of year, often too large for the size of the beehive or the tree cavity. So the swarming instincts is a way to make room while at the same time expanding the population. So what's going on? The queen perceives the hives as too crowded and decides to leave and find a new home. Approximately 50% of the worker bees follow her. She will land on a nearby branch or structure, which can be close to the ground or 30 feet up in a tree. It's her choice. The workers that followed will surround her, each clinging to the next, forming a large buzzing clump. Then, a number of scouts will leave the clump and head out in all directions in search of a new home. This new home is usually a hollow tree, but on occasion could also be the wall of a house or a building with a hole leading into it. They instinctively know how big it needs to be. If it's too small to accommodate the swarm and wax honeycomb they'll build, or if it's too cavernous, they will reject it and continue searching. When a suitable location is found, the lucky scout will return to the swarm and communicate her success to the mass, using what's called a waggle dance, where she wiggles and waggles, indicating the exact direction and distance. Once she has told the assemblage where to go, the bees will leave their temporary branch and fly off to their new home in one large cloud of bees. Once inside, the workers immediately set about building new honeycomb and bringing in nectar and pollen to feed the family. As soon as some of the six-sided wax comb is constructed, the queen begins laying one egg in each cell and can lay up to 2,000 eggs every day. The swarm is a very important part of the honeybee's life cycle and is the only way the population can naturally expand. For beekeepers, the swarm is gold, because if it's within reach, they can often capture it and move it to their apiary in a new hive box. The beekeeper will then have a new hive of bees, and the bees will have a new home. We all know very well how much trouble honeybees are having these days, and there's a way everyone can help. If you encounter a swarm, call a beekeeper, a beekeeping supply store, or your local extension to report its location. In fact, they're so common this time of year, it's a great idea to look up these numbers now and carry them with you or enter them into your mobile phone so you can make the call on the spot. The swarm will generally only hang around for a day or less, so time is critical. Next week, I'll tell you what happens with the 50% of the bees that stayed behind with no queen. For a podcast of this and previous notes from the Currant Farm, and to learn why the healthiest berry was banned in the U.S., go to currants.com. That's currants with an A.
And I am Mike Bennett with naturalist and farmer Greg Quinn, and you're listening to America Weekend.